I could still be sitting there saying, what do you mean? Like, that didn't go in. It didn't look like it went in. It didn't look over the line when the first play, when we saw it happen. And then all of a sudden, Sweden is celebrating. And I was just waiting for the ref to say, no, stop celebrating. We have to keep going. That wasn't in.
Presented by ESPNW, a voice for women who love sports. Follow at ESPNW on Instagram and TikTok for World Cup coverage and more. Hashtag that's a W. It's Rog. It's morning as broken time in New York, and we gather here today in a moment of national darkness. Three-peat has turned to weep, weep. Sweden, always bloody Sweden. The girls with the dragon tattoos just did us. On penalties by a micrometer. Just made that measurement up. We've just lived through, and I use that word live incredibly loosely. I feel barely alive. 0-0 at the end of regulation. 5-4 on penalties. A searing trauma at the end of a dynastic run. Our first loss since the final to Japan in 2011, which is also on penalties. I honestly feel like my lungs have been crushed. Sam Muse feeling a little bit ill, I can assure you.
No!
Suck it, IKEA! Suck it, Spotify! They're reviewing it. That could have gone in. Oh my God.
There's no way.
Oh, please don't VAR this.
There's no way. I don't get it.
And that is how the empire falls. And I do believe you see the true character of human beings in times of challenge, which is why it's so bloody good to be here, not alone, but with my World Cup partner in good times and in bad. You know, if always look on the bright side of life was a person and not a song, it would be her. It's amazing to welcome on this day of sadness as well as on happy days to come. World Cup winner, the P.T. Barnum of cereal, Honey Cheerio in human form. Sam Mewis. Sam, how are you feeling in this moment?
Oh, Raj, I'm just so sad for the girls, for my teammates, for my sister. I feel like that was just such a cruel way for that to happen. So I'm just feeling really down in the dumps.
Yeah, and talking to me can only make you lower. First, a quick toast. I want to raise my first Bud Light of the day to, well, I spoke to an NFL star about this US women's national team and their journey of challenge in this World Cup. And he said to me, you watch, these elite athletes will rise and learn and thrive from this brutal experience. So I just say to that coming true. But Sam, I can't feel my legs, but we got to relive this match together. Are you ready for this?
Yes. At least there are some positive things from the game to talk about.
Wow, we're going to get to them, and I can't wait to hear them. You are an incredible human being. I do need to say before we start, suck it IKEA, suck it ABBA, suck it Spotify. But I woke up at 2 a.m. and I did try and steel myself. I was like, our women are back-to-back defending champions. They have, yes, played like the New York Mets. They limped out the group with just 5 points, fewest ever. This was meant to be three-peat, but it'd been cumbersome. Absence of width, despite Sam Mewis, Subway, key point, twitching, demanding width every bloody game. It was honestly like tuning into The Last Dance just to see Jordan and Pippen get swept in the first round of the playoffs. But I said to myself, remember US fans, it could be worse. We could be Brazilian. We could be Canadian. We could be German, which is honestly hard for me to even mildly imagine. But you always said to me, Sam, that this women's national team, the trademark, yes, is peerless dominance. Yes, it's looked vulnerable, but it's about the mental will, the perseverance, the fight. And that's when I got out of bed. It's ultimately all I had. That's what we were leaning on, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously there was room for improvement after the group stage. And I really trusted that the team would rally from that because of that mentality and really just toughness, grit to just get through and just say, we know we can be better than this. And I think what makes today so difficult is that they were better today. And it was a better showcase of our talent and our skill and that mental toughness, attitude, grit, fight. We saw that down to the very last few minutes of double overtime. Um, that US mentality is something that needs to stay and needs to be around and get passed down and carried through the team moving forward. So I'm glad that we had today to show that it's still there and that um, it's something that those young girls who will be around for years to come have witnessed.
Yeah, and experience. But, we have athleticism, we have that mental just peerlessness. But this is now this World Cup. If the lesson is anything, it's a World Cup of tactics and technical ability. And we did before game. We wanted Vlatko Andonovski, the coach, to make changes. This play it was harder to look at the Portugal game than Carrie's performance and just like that. And we wanted changes. We wanted to see what could he ring in. Like Serena Wiegman, England have been playing, without a freshness. He moved to 3 at the back, unleashed Lauren James, and they suddenly look like they're saying, we wanted to see this in this game. We're playing Sweden, a refreshed Sweden. They'd rested 9 starters in their final group stage game. Sweden who, that recently been our East Dillon Lions, but Scando, and worse on midfield, Rose Lavellus, due to a yellow card suspension. And we wanted change. Some people wanted Ashley Cook in, Julie Ertz in that midfield. We stayed almost the same, but it was one massive change. There was no Ashley Sanchez forgotten. No Cookie, whose confidence is no doubt rocked. But the wholesale changes now. It was Sonnet, the spark plug, which kind of suggested Vlatko was saying, it's not my tactics. We are America. It's just the performance. Run harder, chase harder, tackle harder, go, go, go.
Yeah, I think, my gosh, to think that when Rose couldn't play, Sonnet was the key, and she is so incredible. I think we noticed last game that maybe dropping a second 6 in would have helped us maybe play out, maybe have a little bit more security in front of the back line. And putting Sonnet there, I think, was really smart. She was physical. She was aggressive. She did a great job distributing. She broke up play. She really was just occupying the space that we needed somebody in. And that shows to me her ability to adapt and adjust as somebody who's hardly ever played midfield for the national team, to just come right in and step up in a knockout game and perform that well, completing passes, winning second balls, just being like so scrappy in there, and such a like happily surprising replacement for one of the most like 10s there is in Rose Lavelle. So I was really proud of Sonnet when I think about the journey that she's been through, the chances that feeling to me like she's been overlooked. She's been left on the bench a lot over the course of her career, but somebody who is in every single camp, scrapping, fighting. She deserves to be there, and she deserved this opportunity today, and heartbreakingly did so well.
I mean, the Sonnet effect. Someone in the chat on Twitch said, best Sonnet ... since Shakespeare. And yes, this was a human being seizing her moment in full on thou shalt not pass mode, because the US began so direct, so on the front foot. It was really positive. Sweden were trying to get into that soft spot they love that Jonas Eidevall, the Swedish Arsenal women's national team coach, told me about in the preview pod, that they love to mine the right-hand flank. They play for corners, and they were trying to mine that soft spot, get those crosses in and the wide channel over and over. Just Rodman in for Lynn Williams, just driving forward in the space they left on her flank. Emily Fox also charging up and down the right. Sweden leave our right almost utterly open, and Rodman flew through it. She ripped one from distance on 18 minutes. But at the same time, the play was frenzied. It really was. You mentioned on the Twitch early on, there was a moment when Emily Sonnet got the ball in midfield, seemed to have no one to pass to. We were frantic going forward, just desperate to get from back to front. And the movement on and off the ball was occasionally quite static at times.
I think especially at the beginning, like you just mentioned, the moment where Sonnet was faced up with the ball and just had to turn around and go back. She didn't have an obvious option. But we grew into the game. I think in that first few minutes, Sweden, it was very back and forth. Sweden had a chance. We had a chance. Sweden had a chance. And to just see us find that ability to create some better off-ball movement and to create some more options for people on the ball as we kind of got into the game a little bit more, to see our 2 6s, Andy Sullivan and Emily Sonnet, start to have more options and start to take ownership of that position, that was really inspiring. And then also, like you mentioned, Trinity Rodman is getting multiple shots on target, beating her player. We had a few really close calls in there, even other close chances that I know we'll get to. The first half we definitely worked our way in, but we felt on the front foot.
Yes. And the mood changed. I've got to be honest. I felt dark before the game. I felt like, honestly, the US women's national team are not Everton, but I had that kind of hope going in, which was just like, how are we going to do this? But my Lord, about halfway through the first half, because again, Jonas Eidvall had told me that the Swedes were happy to give us possession so they could counter quickly. So to begin with, every time the US ran forward, I'll be honest, I feared it. I was like, this is a trap. It's a trap. They're going to counter. And I did crap myself.
You did. You were upset at how well we were doing.
I don't want to get lawless on you, but I was upset. I was like, it was an upset out of fear that that's what they wanted. But the pendulum swung and the US really dominated. We had Dart Lindsay Horan. We had Linda Horan, 34th minute from a corner. Incredible contact with that header. That was her moment. And it clipped the bar and went over. This was a knife fight. This was scrappy. This was physical as hell. This was if Emily Sonnet was a game of football. It was physical. What a barroom brawler she is. There was a lovely moment when Rodman was hit bloody hard, had a gum knocked out of her mouth in the tackle, and Alyssa Nair ran over to the side, and we didn't know why she was running over. She came back on, handed something to Trinity Rodman, a teammate. Someone wrote in the chat, I misread it because my eyes were like half asleep still. I thought they wrote it was a gun, and I was like, it was that kind of a game. I was like, oh good, she's got a gun now. Yeah, that the game needs a gun, but it was gum. She needed more gum, and we were winning that ball back. You love this. We were winning the ball back every 6 seconds, right, Sam? We were almost beating the Swedes at their own game.
Yeah, shout out to Fox, the statistics team, for showing us in the first half it was taking us only 6 seconds to regain the ball after we lost possession. It was taking Sweden like 27 or 29 seconds, which to me signaled this aggressiveness and willingness to win the ball back right away. We call those regains on the national team. That's what they're called. And regains is such a great sign of winning the ball higher up the field, closer to goal, so that you're not all the way back in your own end and then have to work your way up the whole field, but you're right still on top of the opponent. So those quick regains were a really good sign for me. And I think as we neared the end of that first half, you and I started saying, we should score now. We have such great momentum. I don't want Sweden to
finish them,
make any adjustments. I think you might have pulled out a kill them, but I'm not sure exactly when the game that was, but it cannot be forgotten that you said
I know.
it.
Thank you for bringing it up again. I feel terrible about that. I did lose my mind towards the end of that first half. I do believe someone who looked like me on Twitch shouted out, kill them, very, very, which is so not my vibe at all. But that's where we were. Yes, something came over me. By the way, I'll never drive my Volvo again. Never will drive my Volvo again. But my mate John Green, he tweeted, I'm on 4 hours of sleep, but if my eyes don't deceive me, the US women's national team is playing really quite well. And we were. Paul Carr, the great statistician on Twitter at halftime, US women's national team attacking third touches in first half. In the first game against Vietnam, 77. Against Portugal, 66. Oh, against the Netherlands, it was 77. Against Portugal, 66. Just 66 attacking third touches. Against Sweden, 103. And I mean, this was, as you say, this was Sonnet. This was Andy Sullivan, who's been much maligned, but I think played the game of her US international life. Just both of them, eye of the tiger, thrill of the fight, rising up to the challenge of our rival. In the chat, Gizabava on Twitch wrote, float like a butterfly, sting like a sonnet. We've got to say, Naomi Girma, what a peerless, just mistake-free, dominant leader. Young, majestic World Cup. You've had Trinity, as you say, fearless. Crystal charging forward when she could. Was Sweden playing badly? Or were we playing well?
I think we did play well. I think I wanted to add, Naomi had an incredible 4 games, an incredible tournament for such a young player, undoubtedly the future of the back line. But I want to give Julie Ertz some credit. She made some awesome tackles. She came up big when we needed her to. And for somebody who has not been consistently in with the national team for about 2 years, She came into this tournament and she was ready and she did her job and she did a really great job. And I think that pairing was today important for us. So I just wanted to give Julie some credit. I do think Sweden got on their back foot a little bit with our good possession play. And like you said, maybe they wanted us to have possession. They wanted to take advantage of some their own quick regains. They didn't really do that much.
I mean, this is amazing. We had like we had double figures corners, and a team Sweden that actually plays for corners. Jonas Eidvall said that's exactly their game is designed. Crazy it sounds to create corners. I think they had 3 all game. That's how dominant we were, and we did start to. I mean, I'll say me, start to feel we had so many good chances. Start to be like, please God, let us take one. 53rd minute, cross from the right. So many crosses on the night. We honestly really should have made so much more of so many of them. Lindsay Horan caught it so sweetly on the volley. Linda Horan, what a majestic human being. Arrowing into the bottom corner, but an unbelievable save from the Swedish goalkeeper, Musevic, to tip it wide. Musevic, who... I'm going to say this so many times today. She's the Chelsea number 2 goalkeeper. She's not the number 1. She's the Chelsea number 2. Emma Hayes just stockpiling strong wrists somehow down to push it aside with the meaty paws of Swedish justice. It was that save, one of many, but that save, Sam Muse, you saw it many times and couldn't quite work out how she did it.
That save, I just could have sworn I saw the ball go into the goal. And so when I realized it went wide, I was like, am I just seeing things? Am I willing this ball to be in the goal, or like what's happening here? And I think that save, the save we mentioned from the first half on Lindsay Horan's header on the corner, and just continuing to come up big. This was a game of such great goalkeeping on both ends. That save in particular is one that I think we will all be thinking about and just saying, wow, if we had scored that, maybe we would have gotten another. But she came up so big for Sweden in that moment.
This video is brought to you by ESPNW. They're dedicated to engaging and inspiring women through sports by spotlighting and elevating all that women in sports achieve every day in so many ways. You can follow along with our World Cup coverage by following at ESPNW on Instagram and TikTok. As they like to say, that's a W. Oh, celebrating daily victories, personal triumphs, endless resilience of women and girls in sport, both on and off the field. Courage. Yeah, shout out to Alyssa there, who hadn't had to make a save. I mean, she'd let 1 goal in, but no saves until this game. And it was like watching a pitcher's duel at times. Alyssa there, who I like to believe has got death metal playing in her head at all times. Just so majestic at all times tonight. Really, 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 what a warrior. But Musevic,
I think with Alyssa to know, and we all knew going into this how dangerous Sweden was in the air and on set pieces, and to see her bravery and her confidence coming out to punch those away, to just get anything on the ball to challenge for them. Even, I don't know if we remember that corner that was swinging right in. She has all these bodies around her and she's still getting something on it. It's such strength, such bravery, and coming up big in those moments that you need her to, like, Alyssa executed her game plan
amazing.
Well today.
When I think about her, I think of the goalkeeper. Thank God he's doing better now. He's been ill recently. Van der Sar, who came on my show and told me the hardest job in football is to be Manchester United's goalkeeper when they were dominant, because you know you're only going to face 1 or 2 shots a game, and the amount of concentration you have to be ready in that moment. You sweat through several shirts. And listen there, huge love for you. But God, Musevic, I don't know how you say Tim Howard in Swedish, but this was that kind of World Cup game that we saw from her tonight. 66th minute, in came your mate Lynn Williams. Trinity Rodman on limited minutes, having been ill during the week. I got to tell you this game was crying out for changes. The Swedes were gassed. I kept hearing Becky Sauerbrun's voice in my head in that second half. Teams can't stay with us, Becky would say. We exhaust them. They are buckling. They can't live with us. They are tiring. They are wilting. The game was crying out for changes. The game was there to be won, but we still did not go to our bench. We had Rapinoe come in for Alex Morgan. I think that was the only other substitute in the 120 minutes until the last second adjustment for penalty kicks. And I've got to say, I don't understand it. I don't understand it for 2 reasons. Fresh legs, get them on against this buckling defence. But also, what does it say to your bench in this key minute? I don't trust you. Also, the biggest advantage of this United States team is our depth. But no, we didn't go there. Watching this, kick on. How did you understand it? How did you explain it to yourself?
I mean, I can't say that I understand it or like agree or would have done the same thing. In the moment, I was trying to be like, we don't know if a goal is scored either way, it changes everything. If a goal isn't scored, it also changes everything because of the implication of overtime and penalty kicks. And I just wonder if we waited a little bit too long to see what happened instead of making it happen. Of course, I have full faith in the starters and I have full faith in the bench. I kind of agree that maybe fresh legs would have been a great idea. I think when Lynn came on, she did great. She was creating all those opportunities to cross down that right-hand side. I think towards the end of the game, though, we did start to see Alex and Sophia be more active and have a few more chances in front of goal. And maybe there was just a hesitation to take them out.
They played so many games. These legs were so tired. I mean, these were shattered minds, shattered legs. Sweden there for the taking. I do not understand it. You know, I'm looking forward to hearing the explanation. It didn't make much sense to me in the Netherlands game. Cumulatively, it made. I mean, we'll chat about it. Ashley Sanchez will leave this and just think, what could I have done? What could I have done more? How could I have helped? 90th minute, Alex Morgan, header goalwards. Musovic, another unbelievable save. This one truly Gordon Banks-esque. Google that if you don't know what I'm talking about. Greta Thunberg does not save the world like Musovic did in this game. Honestly, again, Chelsea second string goalkeeper, 11 saves on the night. Like a Scando Jordan Pickford, which is the highest compliment I can give any footballer. To extra time we went. At this point, we need to say Sam Mewis, who occasionally down the stretch will just mumble on Twitch. I'm feeling what do you say? I'm a little bit ill, is what you say, right?
Yeah.
You're a lot ill.
You're a lot
ill. How ill, Sam?
As we creeped, I think at like the 60th minute, I said something about overtime and PKs. And even I was like, Sam, shut up. That's way too soon to be saying that, Sam. Why are you saying that?
But by the way, Jonas Eidvall, an incredible interview, which is actually I'm going to listen to after the game, his pregame. And he predicted a draw. He predicted penalties. But someone in the chat said that you look, Sam Mewis, gas station sushi nauseous, which I just love as a description. We've all been there. You knew it was going to penalties from the moment it went to extra time, right? I mean, again, no subs. Jonas Eidvall, again, I'm quoting him all bloody night because he's so illuminating. Arsenal's women's coach, he said, I asked him, why are we not making substitutes? He said, it's what a coach, that's the role of a coach in a game. Again, you're saying is exactly what he said. We have to be proactive. He called it, he said, I think it's a German word, and then said, Fingerspitzengefühl. Of course it's a bloody German word, Jonas, but he said Fingerspitzengefühl. It's like essentially the touch of the coach, the gut touch of a coach, changing the game, almost like a masterful conductor. We didn't see any. And if I was asking a question of Vlatko in the post-match press conference, I'd say, Vlatko, why no fingers Spitzengefühl?
And he would say, I don't know what you're talking about, Raj. But I mean, I would ask the same question. I'm not saying that I agree. I think I'm at a little bit of a loss. I don't know what to make of the lack of substitutions. I trust the bench. I wish we would have just scored.
Good coaching.
Yeah, I think that's my only strong opinion I have here is that we should just score. Yeah.
That's like Lallis. When Lallis was a child, because we've had lots of posters from the 80s and 90s sent into us because we love them all. We're building a hall of fame of memorabilia. We've got a lot of Lallis posters, and Lallis, when he was a player, yes, children, Lallis once played football before he became a My Pillow infomercial. He used to sign every signature, kick hard, Alexi Lallis, and Mewis version of that is just score. Just score. By the way, Fingerspitzengefühl means that fingertip feeling. Our fingers must have been numb down the stretch. But we have to talk about this great moment, a beautiful moment, a human moment, a family moment. 120 minutes with seconds on the clock. I'm a firm believer. I don't have many true beliefs, but I do believe this adamantly. I'll die on this hill. The game of football is always better when there's a Mewis on the field. So on with seconds to go in the final game for a World Cup debut, that kid from Handsome Mass, Christy Mewis. I am not a Mewis, Sam. I don't know if you know this about me. I'm not a Mewis. I cried when she came on, but tell me what you felt seeing your sister take that field.
I mean, I didn't I think I'm going to need to reflect on the moment. Obviously, my reaction was public and I was so happy and so proud of Christy, but I think I need to go away for a second to really soak in the complexities of emotions that we're all feeling today. Part of me was like, "Oh my god, she's coming on to take a penalty." And my illness grew just because I was so anxious for her and I wanted her to succeed so badly, and I don't even think she touched the ball in the minute that she was on the field in overtime, and so I just am going, he tr he trusted her enough to put her on the field to take a penalty kick after not touching the ball, and so did I, and I'm so proud of her for doing that and for getting out there at all, but I definitely think I need, like, a minute of sister time to just take in what's happened today. It's,
A
like, been
minute
a
of
lot.
sister time. A minute of sister time. I can't believe you're doing this for me. You are so incredible as a human being. By the way, her journey, she is incredible as a human being to have reached that after the injuries, the doubt, the coming back, the ferocity, just perpetually written off. It was immense. I feel sick that she only had seconds. She did not touch the ball in the field of play, but some journey for the kid from Handsome Mass. And I am so many bloody emotions. It
I
wasn't that
think
public
it
watching with me. There are only 350,000 people watching us, Sammy
I
Mewis.
just think it's also in general, this whole thing has been I feel very, like, removed from my sister and my friends. They're so far away. They're on TV. I'm at my house. And so and I'm also we wake up in the middle of the night. It feels surreal. It feels like a dream. And I definitely think there's just this distance. I mean, I haven't cried, but I think after this all, when I have a moment to, my gosh, talk to them and realize what they're feeling, like these are the people closest to me in my life. And I'm so devastated for them. It just still feels far away right now. And I think when it hits me, God, I'm heartbroken for my sister. Heartbroken.
I can't imagine. I cannot imagine all of those feelings, and there is going to be so much to be processed. I mean, this was Wild West. This was now open. You said you were like, "This is Wild West open." You shouted out 1 minute. This was just swinging, gassed players, just swinging haymakers, hoping to connect. We had Coach Kelly O'Hara on the sideline. Just she was our best hope. All of you kept in the chat, just been like, "Come on, Coach Kelly, make some subs." So tired, so gassed. These players have fought. They had grappled. They had battled the Swedish press. They kept a team that plays for corners down to 3. But here we were, as you'd predicted, on the 60th minute. I'm meant to be the dark, pessimistic one, Sam Mewis. You went there though. You went there so early, and we're going to say. Theo Lloyd Hughes on Twitter said, "I can't find any record of Musovic ever saving a penalty as a senior pro. She's 0 of 7, but my God, she'd had 11 saves, and that she just seemed so dominant as she stared at her water bottle with all our penalty takers on there." It was a weird penalty shootout, weird as hell. The good ones were so good, the bad ones were so unbelievably bad. I mean, just tell us what that feels like as a player. You've played 120 gassed out minutes of football. You've given your all. Everything is on the line, and suddenly the game flips from a collective one, a team game, to this psychological fraught battle as an individual, Russian roulette.
Well, at this magnitude, the pressure is just, I think, impossible to even imagine or describe. In 2016 in an NWSL final, I was the 5th kicker and I could have won the game and the championship for my team, and the goalkeeper saved it. And I was in complete disbelief, like shock, complete disbelief, but I ran back and then my goalkeeper saved the next one. So we won anyway. And the emotion that just hits when that happens is overpowering. I was bawling, but I was so happy. And so especially for Pino, who I would have picked 100 times out of 100 times to
Oh my
take a
God.
PK.
Oh my God,
To
Pino,
have the weight of the world
Pino.
on your shoulders and be Sophia Smith.
Oh my God.
I'm
Oh my
so
God.
It's inhuman to have to go through this. To be a listener and to see a millimeter, the pressure, the emotion, the disbelief, the for people who aren't up there, the lack of control, the fact that you just have to watch and everybody else on the team and the staff has no control over what you do or what happens.
Nothing, nothing,
It's
nothing.
so painful. It's such a horrible, horrible way to lose.
And it felt like we had it won. I mean, we felt like we had it won a couple of times in there, multiple times. Andy Sullivan, God bless you, Sully. Andy Sully scored with that first one of the hardest things to do, to open up a penalty shootout. And she just scored and then fired up the fans with just her immense Sally. Psychologists have studied this. If you celebrate after scoring, fire up the fans, you fire up your teammates, you improve their confidence. It's been proven. But I think his name's Geir Jourdet. If you want to understand the penalty shootout, Google Geir, and then his last name is Jordet, a psychologist who's only studied just how humans perform under the crucible of pressure, and has done so many studies on penalty shootouts. It's amazing to read it. Watching Andy Sullivan fire up the fans, so happy for her. Then Rolfo scored. Lindsay Horan, I'm so happy for her. I was so afraid for Lindsay, who feels things.
Lindsay, not to bring this up, my God, Sam, but missed in Champions League. And
I was so afraid, Sammy. I was so afraid for her. She feels things too. She feels everything.
As a person, like, I just think it takes she had to say, yes, I want to take a penalty kick. They ask. And if you have like any sort of doubt about yourself, you kind of go, oh, I don't know if I want to take one. Lindsay had to go, yes, I want to take one. I'm taking one. She's been practicing them. She's been probably reliving that horrible moment from only just a few months ago. And she stepped up and she made it. And that kind of like overcoming your own self. I don't know if she had self-doubt. I'm putting feelings in her head, but doing that, missing in such a big moment, and then just a few months later in an even bigger moment, stepping up and making it. I'm so impressed with that.
It was an immense moment, and I'm just so unbelievably happy for Lindsay Horan, even in the darkness. Rubenson scored, and then a player, Muse, stepped up. She'd not touched the ball. This is her first touch in World Cup play, a penalty in a shootout. Very quickly, because I don't want to put you on it, but what did you feel?
I just wanted her to make it so bad. At that point, everybody had made it. And I just needed for her to just make it. And when she did, my husband, Pat, was peeking at our screen right through this window in my office. And I think we both were just like, our family just needs this to go in. And it did.
First touch of a World Cup ball, top bins, just an immense. She will always have that. She will always have that. Every single touch Christy Mewis had in a World Cup ever
was a goal.
Yeah.
And I
don't think anyone else can say that.
I think I just want to say, like, that's just being like, that is what's expected of you at this level, is to do your job. Christy made this team. She got picked out of everybody to take a penalty kick. In a do or die moment, he subbed her on the field to take one. She has not played yet. And she makes it. And like, that's somebody who deserves to be there. Who, like, I'm so proud of her for making this roster, for getting through this whole period of time that she didn't get any minutes, keeping her head on straight, being there for her team, subbing on and doing her job. Like, if that's what being a Mewis is, then like, I'm just so proud to be related to her, to get to learn from her my whole life. She's brave and she just did her job. She just did what she had to do.
God, to be a Mewis, I will read that book. If that's what being a Mewis is, that is a self-help book that I would read. God, I wish there was a tiny bit of Mewis spirit in me. The world would be a better place if we all had a bit of Mewis. But then the penalty shootout went a bit drunk. Bjorn missed. I've got to say, I was so delirious. I threw my chair backwards. It hit all the plugs in my office and my computer went poof. So I was off. I thought we'd won it in that moment. Last thing I saw was Bjorn missing. And
Rog logged off.
I was just like, left you. And then my computer fired up again. It kicked back in. I got back on. I expected you to be like covered in Cheerios of celebration and glory. Instead, I turned up at a funeral. It was like
No,
I
I had to
texted
freaking commentate alone for a moment
for something I
as
still have not
everything
seen.
went awry.
Megan Rapinoe stepped up. And Megan Rapinoe, I never saw a second of this. I expected to click back onto my own Twitch with 310,000 people watching along with us. I expected to just be there for the moment of celebration. I thought it may have been over. I thought you may be just genuinely just firing up the Lucky Charms, the breakfast of celebration. But instead, it was like I turned up at a wake or a funeral. I was like, what just happened? You said Rapinoe. You could hardly speak. You said Rapinoe missed. And this is Rapinoe who had told us, she told us both, you know her better than I do. She told me about a penalty. She's like, I approach everything like, what if I fail? That is my approach to life. What if I fail? What could go wrong? How will I feel? She said, when I walk up to the penalty spot, I think how great it's going to be when I score this goal, what it's going to feel like to make it. Like she focuses pure. What happened?
I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea what happened. It's a fluke thing. It's just if I had somebody from the national team take a penalty kick right now, I'd still pick Pino. And she'd make it now. Even an hour after she'd missed, she'd still make it because mentally she can just do that. I just think this is just the game. Sometimes this happens.
It is just the game. It is life. Football is just like life,
Football's
and
life.
sometimes it just happens. But then Bloomquist missed, and I was there for Sophia Smith, the player whose initials, Sophia Olivia Smith, are the same as ABBA's incredible song SOS. She stepped up this whole minute. We've seen every commercial. This was her moment. She is lethal. She is clinical. She was born for this, to win it.
My heart just breaks for her. Such a strong start to the tournament. She scored 2 goals. And then we kind of left her hanging out there, isolated on the wing for some of those games. And then she has the ability to put us through to the next round. And I'm just devastated for her. My heart absolutely breaks for her.
Harry Kane is still one of the world's greatest footballers, even though he missed a penalty in the World Cup. Sophia Smith is still one of the greatest strikers in the game, even though she missed this. It's a crucible that we near mortals will never understand. Benison scored, and what a baller. A detail that will be forgotten. Alyssa Nair, Death Metals, Alyssa Nair, turning up to take a penalty clinically with no fuss, straight down the middle. What did you shout when she scored that?
I was like, the balls it takes to go straight down the middle. Like, what's the word? Statistically, you're like, this is an old study, but my husband Pat talks to me about it all the time. You're like most likely to score if you go straight down the middle. But the weight of doing that is so heavy because if you miss, you look like such an idiot. And so for Alyssa to just fire it down the middle, goalkeeper versus goalkeeper, took such bravery, such balls, such confidence. I'm just here doing my job, burying the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah,
striker, put me up top, coach.
Yeah, it's like, I thought of her. She barely celebrated. She was like, what did Balotelli say when people said you're miserable when you score? He said the postmen celebrate when they deliver the mail. No, I'm just doing my job. Alyssa Nair, scoring a penalty, just doing my job. Eriksson then scored. And then Kelly O'Hara of Peachtree City, no American player with a stronger mentality, a more ruthless mentality. I spent time with her childhood coaches. I've spent time in that city with her friends growing up. She's the most ruthless, the most competitive. And the ball went off the post, the right post, the same post that saved us against Portugal. Sam Lewis, that right post came back to claim its debt, and it killed us. That is football. That is football, right? Luck, you told me when we met for lunch in Boston. Luck is one of the greatest elements in World Cup journeys.
Yeah.
And on this night,
I mean, it is. One, I wanted to mention Eriksson stepping up in a must-make moment, scores it.
Clinical.
The pressure was on them. They were going second. And then I'm, luck. Like, there is something to be said for putting yourself in a position to get lucky. Do everything you can. So when the ball does bounce your way, you're ready for that. And this is just the game. This is why it's so gut-wrenching and so beautiful and so joyful. Like, this is just soccer. This is why we love it so much, and it's horrible,
It makes us
horrible
feel
being on this
alive.
side.
Even in this agony, we feel alive and we feel things. And for Kelly, she will feel this. She will feel this more than most human beings can ever conceive of. She will carry this. This is going to take a long time for that incredible human being. Kelly hit the post, and then Lena Hurtig of Arsenal stepped up, slapped it with power. Lissonaire was there with the wrists of a warrior to tip it. But the ball, you see all these comedy penalty kicks on TikTok where the goalkeeper thinks they've saved it. They walk away, but the backspin. Lissonaire didn't walk away. She tried to save it again. It kind of span back with backspin towards the line. It was insane to witness because they didn't show it for ages. The referee, Stephanie Frappe, had a great game. She refs men's Ligue 1 games in France. She, took her time. We didn't know what the hell was going on. Sweden were protesting. We were ready for the next kick. But then she just did just the crossed arms. It looked like it was a no goal, but it was the end of the game signal.
Leave it to me to not know the signals.
What a way for an empire, a dynasty to fall. What happened?
I could still be sitting there saying, what do you mean? Like, that didn't go in. It didn't look like it went in. It didn't look over the line when the first play, when we saw it happen. And then all of a sudden, Sweden is celebrating. And I was just waiting for the ref to say, no, stop celebrating. We have to keep going. That wasn't in. And they finally show it. And it's like half a millimeter over the line.
Was it though?
Was it though?
Was it though?
I don't know.
Was it really though? Was it really though?
Raj, I don't know. I'm not in on the science. I don't know.
What a way.
I can't. What's a worse way to lose than on this kind of stupid millimeter?
An agony, Sam. I just say, for everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. Time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down, a time to build up, a time to weep, a time to laugh, to mourn, and a time to dance. Yes, Carly Lord, a time to dance. But this was the earliest exit ever for the United States, who've never failed to reach the semi-finals of this tournament. Lallis at the final whistle, unmitigated disaster. Was it though? I mean, they played poorly in the group stage, but on this night, to me, they balled out. They gave their all. You saw a close-up shot of Emily Fox in extra time, just in agony, pushing through it all. Those who doubted this team's will to win, these players, this was some performance. The 21 shots, 10 on target. Sweden had 4 on target. This was a team that plays for corners. They had 3 all game. More Lallis just in. Lallis said, "Don't shoot the messenger," but sometimes this team has rubbed some in America. Those words doing a lot of heavy lifting the wrong way. We'll talk about that in 1 second. I think that it was the veterans, Rapinoe, Kelly O'Hara, Alex Morgan did not score the whole World Cup, who, will feel the sense of loss. That would be the final ball that Megan Rapinoe will ever kick in World Cup play, that Kelly O'Hara will ever kick in World Cup play. Will only add to the agony. I mean, they were the ones who were meant to steer us safely through the storm. There'll be young players. Alex Morgan, you said to me, 0 goals for a World Cup. It's hard to even believe. She's such a icon, a legend. But so many young players, Alana Cook, Ashley Sanchez, players like Christy Mewis, who will leave wondering what more they could have done, probably going home confused. What do you take from this moment? What do you feel?
I mean, I feel confused for them. I think what's so weird about today and about the fact that they're going home is that they did well today. And we've been saying for the last few weeks, yeah, the performance wasn't exactly right, but we're through and we got the job done and we did the only thing that matters. And just the emphasis on that we performed better today, but we didn't do the only thing that mattered. It's just such a hard thing to wrap your head around, is that performance and results are just like they just got flip-flopped and it just sucks. And so like I said, I mean, I think about my friends and my sister. I think about all the people who traveled there to watch them. I mean, it's so devastating. I feel terrible for the girls. And it's just hard to wrap your head around that we played in a way today that I could see us moving forward. I could see us moving on.
They made us believe. They made us believe and still got beaten by Sweden, who will march on. You know, that team of the Skarsgård family, of Zlatan, of Greta Garbo, Bjorn Borg. God, I mean, you beat us, Sweden, and yes, by millimeters, and that is football. I say right now, I'm sure there's going to be huge questions asked of Vlatko Andonovski, who already carries that scar of the Olympic tournament performance, to add to leading the first United States team to fail to reach the semi-finals. To that resume is going to be a true challenge. We've seen physically and mentally strong. We've seen for long spells this tournament tactically bereft. The outcry will be loud. It will be chaotic. You know, for US soccer, the men's team coming off a turbulent World Cup campaign, the women's team has always been best in class. Has always been superlative. This is really an existential moment as much as just a football defeat. The United States, you know, we are the most dominant team in the football world. We have been, and that dominance has just ended tonight. It's been replaced with a campaign of vulnerability. It's like watching the Dream Team or Team USA men's basketball get beaten by France. That brand of invincibility is gone. I mean, this is a defeat which can be, Sam, it can be really identity shaking.
Yeah, yeah, nothing you said was wrong. I think as annoying as this is going to be, like, I want to think of this as an opportunity to figure out what went wrong. There were some reports of like US youth national teams not having recent success, and I wonder if was foreshadowing. I hate to say that. I really do. I hate to say that foreshadowed the US women's national team not performing at the Olympics or at the World Cup. I don't want that to be true, but I do think that we need to examine what happened in both tournaments and see what can we control and fix, what needs to be better, where can we make corrections so that this never happens again. I want the US women's national team to win every single tournament that we ever play in ever again. But I do think that we all need to examine what we can be doing to make sure that this doesn't happen anymore.
You're right. Meg Linehan wrote a piece, I think, after the Netherlands game, the last time the under-20s won the World Cup, 2012. Even rougher for the under-17s. Their best performance was the inaugural one in 2008. I mean, that suggests that this is a very profound moment for the US. The challenge is fundamental. You know, Title IX has always given us a unique advantage, first mover advantage, just the depth of our pool that no one could match. But this World Cup shows us football is more than just about athletic and mental superiority. We can never rely on that again. And there will be many things to point to: injuries, bad luck, coaching, the world getting better, us not adapting tactically. You know, the Fox pre-tournament commercial is going to be hard to watch now in the wake of this, just the amount of swag. But this has been coming. You're suggesting this has been coming, and this post-mortem needs to be and should be and will be serious. I mean, we should profoundly. I keep thinking about something Lindsay Horan said to me in the first week of the tournament when she bemoaned the emphasis on the American style of football, athleticism, in comparison to the European style that she's immersed herself in Lyon. She talked about, you know, I don't want to get fans upset, but in Europe they're playing possession. They value the ball. In the US, we are physically demanding. We have individual brilliance. But in Lyon, you're building up. You're valuing the ball. If you're not stringing together 5 or 6 passes, it's almost a failure. We try and manipulate defenders' teams. We score off those kinds of opportunities, and I like it. That's what you went to Manchester City to try and learn. I mean, what do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I think a couple things. I think this is also just a testament to the rest of the world being invested in more women's programs, having more investment, more respect from their federations. Again, not all by any means. The youth program may be foreshadowing some level of other countries catching up at young ages. My time at Man City was incredible. I feel like I learned like a whole new culture of football and a whole new way of being a professional. And I just, it's so hard to like accept, But I do think we need to, yeah, like just develop some other styles and some other skills and just place value on some of these things like Lindsay was talking about, that reading the game and having kind of a backup plan. I think the American style has always been something that we have. And what else can we have too? There's just maybe a layer to add on to that.
There is a level about the coaching as women's football explodes all around the world, not only in England, Spain, France, but most thrillingly in Colombia, Nigeria, Morocco. The plays become increasingly tactically nuanced, and the coaches in Europe are influenced by a melting pot of European football ideas. And they're also influenced by men's powerhouse clubs that they are partnered with: Chelsea, Barcelona, best in class Lyon. There's a cross-pollination of complex ideas there. And I do believe now we are out of this tournament, we must ask ourselves the hardest, most profound strategic questions about the roots of the American youth development system and our coaching as a global game becomes ever more tactical, technical, and frankly brilliant. Ask ourselves, are we developing the best coaches here, almost in our silo of the American college system? That is a question we should get. Now, when Germany lost in the men's game in the 1990s badly, and they've just failed in this World Cup, they've already started talking about on the women's side. In the past, failure has been met with an instant root and branch deep insight into an investigation into what went wrong. You can read Das Reboot by Raphael Honigstein to see how the powers that run German football responded to dreary, awful football in the late 1990s, functional football, to transform their youth development, which led to 2014's really sublime World Cup winning team. We need that here, right, Sam? I mean, we can't just be like, oh, it was a tough loss, move on. We can't sit on our laurels. This is a moment where we need to examine and re-examine everything at the youth level.
I think we should. I mean, I think, again, the standard in the US is to win. So anytime we don't win, I think, of course, we need to re-examine. Raj, I have a question for you. This might be so annoying to ask. But in years past, I'm like, I think we would have just won the group. And I keep coming back to the fact that we had to play Sweden this early. And it sucks. Of course, eventually we would have faced really, really difficult opponents. Of course, all of our opponents so far arguably were really, really difficult. But if we had just won the group, would we have worked our way into this game and performed better and moved on and just performed better and better? Did we seal this by not winning our group?
Yeah,
and that question is just going to haunt me and ruin my life.
And well, it shouldn't ruin your life, you beautiful human being. You're turning into me, hanging out with me. That's the kind of crap that I would say. You are better than me, but you have to. Nobody has won the World Cup by coming second in their group, I think, since 1982. Had we got past Sweden today, we would have faced Japan, who are, surging like Spain, both of those teams into the quarters. Spain, Bombatti scoring early and often, routing Switzerland 5-1, finding their form. By the way, their coach benching Ballon d'Or winner Alexia Putellas, ruthless. Spain will go and face the Netherlands. They won today, beat a very game South Africa. Huge respect to South Africa. But God, Spain so phenomenal. Japan, the class of the tournament, cutting apart Norway 3-1, winning possession, smothering them with their front five. Japanese football, said to have lost its way since winning it in 2011. My Lord, poetic menace. They are back and they'll face Sweden next. That's what Sweden proceed to do. So I don't know, Sam, but GFOP at Nardo Opez 99 said Japan and Spain starting to take care of business like Jules and Vincent in Pulp Fiction. We should finish it off by saying Netherlands also advanced. South Africa, they got a 9th minute goal for Man City's Jill Roord. Netherlands, but the Banyana were terrific. Captain Racing Louisville's own Thembi Kugatlana in particular forced Dutch keeper Daphne van Dom Solar into some incredible saves. They put the game away late, the Dutch. But they proceed without the queen of shithousery, Danielle van der Donk, who got a second yellow card or cruelly missed the game. It was hard to watch her sobbing as she had left the field. It's wild. She's played every single one of the Netherlands World Cup games ever in history. Truly incredible stat for a player who turned just 32 yesterday. This yellow card rule is brutal, but South Africa, God, what an incredible, indelible series of memories they have given us. Listen to the full version of this podcast and all our podcasts wherever you get your pods. But first, subscribe here for more Men in Blazers videos and courage.